Welcome back. You're still watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. The program is coming to you Monday to Friday on CGTN. Chinese President Xi Jinping will start a 6-day European tour to Italy, Monaco, and France on Thursday. In his first overseas trip this year, China-Europe cooperation on science and technology is expected to top the agenda. For years, China has been investing heavily on exploring basic science and advancing applied science. What's the thinking behind China's science strategy, and how will it compete against the major players in the scientific field and also cooperate with many of them? Today, let's meet one insider, Nancy Ip, a Hong Kong neuroscientist and Vice President for Research and Development at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. As a scientist in one of the most fascinating fields, human brain, Professor Ip said that cooperation in science is necessary to improve human society. Take a look. How do you, as a scientist, see both the cooperation and particularly competition these days as a result of geopolitics when it comes to science and technology development?
The ultimate goals of science and technology development are to advance the societies, and it's for the betterment of humankind. And this actually requires international collaboration in order to achieve the goals. But on the other hand, healthy competition, I believe, not only among countries, but also in individual laboratories within a country, is very important, and in fact is essential in order for us to strive for excellence and continue to push the frontiers of science and technology. So I believe that collaboration and competition, they are like two sides of a coin, and they are both important in order for us to achieve the goals.
Healthy competition, of course, is always the best thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Particularly for the scientists, to gear yourself up in order to find a new frontier. However, geopolitics does play a role, and increasingly so, I'm afraid. U.S. and China, for example, uncertainty about the nature of relations for the future.
Sure.
So you are a member of Chinese Academy of Sciences, also a member of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences. Are you concerned whether in the future that you will still be able to fulfill all these roles, free spirit, as a scientist?
There are so many grand challenges that we face today. In my field, for example, aging population, how are we going to ensure that we have healthy aging? And in other fields like, climate change and also shortage of food, new energy, etc. I mean, these are grand challenges, and it really requires multidisciplinary efforts, not only within, one region, but also across regions.
But scientists like you work so hard in order to go the direction you just illustrated.
Right.
And yet you see the politics is dragging totally toward another direction. I mean, as a scientist, how do you see that?
Well, I think when we attend scientific conferences, when we give talks, we share with everyone our data, and we hope that by sharing our knowledge will inspire new ideas. It is really that collaborative spirit that we can continue to make new discoveries. And of course, in China, we also maybe should focus on the areas that we have a niche, and that would allow us to make progress faster.
In this government work report, you see the Chinese premier made it very clear that China have grand goals, but it's not against anyone or toward any target.
Yes.
So it's being articulated in a very different way. During your interaction with scientists on the mainland, and also when you are doing your research, how do you see this, the way of communication vis-a-vis the goals of research?
And a good example, actually, I can give is the establishment of the state laboratories in Hong Kong, and also branches of the Chinese National Engineering Research Centers in Hong Kong. So through these platforms, actually, the collaborations have been very productive. And now with the Greater Bay Area development, I believe that there will be even more opportunities. For Hong Kong, we have certain areas that we internationally recognize.
Like what?
For example, in my field, I think
Neuroscience.
Yes. But Hong Kong also has certain limitations, right? We have world-class universities, we have strengths in basic research. We also have, internationalization, right? We are well connected with the global scientific community, but yet Hong Kong does not have too much of an industrial base. Mm-hmm. And for commercialization, we have our limitations. So this is exactly what mainland can offer. And so with the Greater Bay Area Development Plan, we aim to build this region into an innovation and technology hub. Mm-hmm. So I personally feel that Hong Kong can contribute a lot. Mm-hmm. And with this development, I think Hong Kong will see a lot of opportunities in order to better integrate into the national innovation and technology plan.
The Greater Bay Area, Professor Yap, you mentioned several times, yes. But it's a grand plan. Yes. There's no detail yet. Yes. So where are the details going to come, and whether the details are really going to benefit neuroscience research or the areas that you in Hong Kong could really develop in terms of science and technology? When is that going to come from?
Well, I think it has to come from the grassroots level. That's my own view, because there are certain policies that have been set and announced, and it is very much welcomed by the scientific community in Hong Kong. I mean, for example, funding crossing the border is already, a great first step, so that we can collaborate with our mainland counterparts easier, right? So previously, we have to use, for example, HKUST platform in Shenzhen in order to apply for, these grants. But now, with funding crossing the border to Hong Kong, we at HKUST can apply directly from our Clearwater Bay campus. Mm-hmm. So I see that as a wonderful opportunity. So previously, we were simply participating in certain projects, but now we can lead projects, and we can put together a team and then apply for the program grant. So yeah, these are great policies. I do agree. How Hong Kong will play a role, and specifically how to do that will take some time. But it's in stages, right? First, you have certain policies that would facilitate us to collaborate. Then the scientists in Hong Kong will respond to that, right. And they will put together these plans for deeper collaboration with scientists in the mainland. So I see a lot of excitement in the years to come.
Nancy, in her discussion with me, has discussed how important connectivity in the Greater Bay Area is for China's scientific research. Nowadays, new technology like AI, artificial intelligence, has opened new opportunities for scientific research. Yet, emerging technology brings about new moral dilemmas. She points to how the controversial case of gene-edited babies in China pushed scientific ethics to the forefront. How can we harness science to ensure that it serves the betterment of the mankind? That is an issue not only for scientists, but also for all of us. Are scientists very patient people?
Scientists are very patient people, yes. And it's a very important quality. Yeah.
Everything that we are talking about these days, fascinated about, almost has something to do with neuroscience. The thread of this field that could really lead one giant after another great leap forward in this field. What exactly is it, that thread?
I think for us in the neuroscience research area, I mean, it evolves over time. For example, I was a molecular and cellular neurobiologist. Yeah. So I use cells, I use animal models, but I have already evolved into, for example, studying human and linking it with AI in the future. Because advances in technology development actually allow us to do things that previously was not possible. So, and that is the excitement of being a scientist. We don't just stick with the old technology. When there is technological advance, we see how it can apply to our own field.
Tell me about how it's been evolving. What kinds of blueprint are we really looking at in the, let's just say, short and the midterm?
A good example is in understanding neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's disease. My research lab has been focusing on what are the underlying pathological mechanisms that contribute to the disease. And so we look at how brain cells communicate and what goes wrong under the disease condition. But now what we're thinking is that we can, for example, understand the genetic risk. Then we can identify the genetic risks that are associated with Alzheimer's disease in the Chinese population. So this is a new area that...
Is it going to be very different from the other populations?
Actually, our preliminary findings suggest that the genetic variants or the risk factors are quite different from the Caucasians.
Fascinating.
So, yeah. So in the public database, actually, a lot of the work was done with Caucasians, and there's a lack of information for Alzheimer's disease in the Chinese population. So a few years ago, I started the data collection, and our preliminary findings suggest that the genetic variants prevalent in the Caucasian population actually are not so prevalent in the Chinese population. So our goal is to link the genetic data with the clinical endophenotypes and also the imaging data in order for us to have a more integrated idea about the risk factors, and that's where AI can come in and contribute.
Talking about neuroscience, I have to mention to you a case earlier. There was a scientist on the mainland trying to change the DNA, and of course that case was quite well known to avoid HIV/AIDS, but of course that was taking the risk of the other health factors of the individual, particularly when it's experimenting on humans. It led to huge criticism inside the mainland and also around the world against that, what the scientists did. As a neuroscientist, how do you see things like this?
For scientists as a whole, I think having integrity and having research, adhering to the research ethics is very important. I mean, this is an integral part of being a scientist, and so we need to follow and adhere to international standards.
I really respect human beings.
And respect the human beings. I think we cannot ignore this, and I always teach my students
the bottom line.
The bottom line, I mean, of being a scientist, yes, you want to be the first to publish, you want to be the first to invent, but at the same time, you must have ethics. And credibility is very important.
Absolutely.
And, we publish and shared our findings with the scientific community, and they believe our data.
Yes. You could see some media reports stretching the story, suggesting, see, the Chinese scientific circle does not have bottom line to begin with, and how can we trust them? Yeah. How do you see comments like that?
When the case actually broke open, it was at a genomic conference in Hong Kong.
Were you there?
Yes, I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a
shocking
moment for all of us, and I believe that we should not let one case destroy or impact on the credibility of the research done in China, and all of us have that responsibility to do well and to really gain our credibility. Yeah.
In the government work report delivered by the Chinese Premier, he talked about the predictable and the unpredictable challenges that China is facing or will be facing latter half of the year. To a scientist, what do you think is the biggest danger or biggest challenge under this context? And what can be done now in order to avoid it, or at least to be prepared for it?
Well, I think, again, for scientists, I don't believe there's any, differences in terms of the rules and regulations or guidance, that we can provide. I think science has no border, in my view, and there are challenges that it will continue to have challenges. But I think for us, scientists, whether we're in Hong Kong or in the mainland, I think we We will do the best we can to overcome the challenges as they happen. But if we maintain our ethical standards, our credibility, and our continued, curiosity and our passion in science, I do think that we'll be able to overcome challenges that might come our way, one step at a time. I witnessed the rapid growth in science and technology in our country in the past decade, and it is so amazing. I mean, I believe that there's so much that can be done, and I feel proud as a scientist in Hong Kong. I was able to participate in the growth in science and technology and be part of it. And now, with the Greater Bay Area development, I really believe that we'll be able to complement each other's strengths. And it is a great opportunity for us to recruit talents globally. And I feel that our ability to recruit talents, our ability to retain them so that they choose to stay in the Greater Bay Area would be a strong testament to the success.
Nancy Yip, a neuroscientist, talking about the future. And that is all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, try to find us World Insight CGTN into your search engine or check out our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Sina Weibo. From me, Tian Wei, and everyone on the World Insight team, thanks for watching. Tune in again next time for insights across China and across the world. Good night.